Much. Hey. Hey. Wow, thank you. Iowa fired up? Ready to go? Fired up? Ready to go? Man, it is really wonderful to be with all of you. And Tom Harkin and Ruth, thank you so very, very much for inviting me out here to be with all of your friends at the 35th Annual Iowa Steak Fry. I tell you, you have a tremendous United States Senator in Tom Harkin. I don't believe that there is another United States Senator whose work has had the positive impact and all across our country, in little communities that he's never even visited. The way that the Americans with Disabilities Act has improved the lives of Americans all across our country. And his courageous votes to advance the healing power of stem cell research, his votes to stand up for the family farm in the United States of America, because that helps all of America. So Tom and Ruth, thank you both for what you've done to make our country a better and more compassionate, a kinder and a more generous place. It is great to be with so many great Iowans. Tom Vilsack, oh boy, what a relief it is to be able to pick up the phone and actually call the Secretary of Agriculture and have him call you back. Tom and I both share the affinity of having had the title, the second most important title in the Republic after the title of citizen, and that is mayor. And so, Tom, thank you for the tremendous job you do for our country and in agriculture. And to Majority Leader Mike Grunstall and to Kevin McCarthy, let's make sure that we keep Iowa's progress moving forward and not back by giving us better Democratic numbers in your legislature. It is great to see Tom Miller and also to see Mike Fitzgerald. And thank you both for your good work. Sue Dvorsky, the chair of the party, who does outstanding work. And how about your team for Congress? Bruce Braley, Dave Loebsack, Leonard Boswell. We got to send them back to Congress. And also, I am really excited, as I am sure you are as well, that you will be electing the first woman to Congress from Iowa in Christy Vilsack when she wins that seat. Because, folks, it's not enough for us to re-elect Barack Obama. We need to do that, and I have some more to say about that. But we've got to give President Obama a better Congress to work with, don't we? I mean, my goodness, I was talking to your senator on the way here, and he wondered whether he might have even been able to get the ADA passed if these were the guys that were in the Republican-controlled House at the time. No way. These guys are Tea Party, Republican obstructionists that have very little to do with the party of Lincoln. They say no to everything. 5 times they voted no against the jobs bill. They say no even to passing a farm bill. These guys, these Republican obstructionists, do-nothing House members, these guys wouldn't pass gas if they thought it would help the president accelerate our recovery. So let me share some thoughts with you because, look, we have a lot in common. I bring you greetings from the great people of Maryland, and I have had occasion to visit the best that our state and your state sends forward. When I was honored to travel with your governor, Chet Culver, to visit our troops serving in Iraq. And we would trade, Chet and I would trade the cell phone and the flags back and forth as we took the shots to send home to spouses and loved ones. In Maryland, we were one of the original 13 states. We are home, as Senator mentioned, to what has been named the #1 public schools in America 4 years in a row, thanks to President Obama's help and our Congress. We've made college more affordable rather than more expensive, thanks to our courageous law enforcement officers, and thanks to President Obama and Vice President Biden's leadership. We've driven crime down to 30 and 35-year lows in our state. And in a reflection of the goodness of the people that I have the honor to serve, this fall on our ballot, as we vote to re-elect the president, we will also be voting for the DREAM Act in Maryland and for marriage equality in Maryland. How many of you saw the Democratic convention? Man, that was a good convention, wasn't it? I remember watching theirs, and I don't know about you, but I was chomping at the bit to see our convention happen. Wasn't Mrs. Obama outstanding on the opening night? And then, of course, Bill Clinton, the explainer-in-chief. I loved his talk. I've replayed it 40 times. It's great. It's called arithmetic. And then President Obama on the summation and the final night. Wasn't he outstanding? In the alternative here, you have President Obama, who carries himself at home and abroad as our commander-in-chief with dignity, with a dignified reserve, with the power that the office calls for. And then you have the alternative, Mitt Romney, who can't even go to another country's Olympics as a guest without putting his foot in his mouth. And there were three things you never saw at the Republican convention: any new ideas for creating jobs. You never saw any mention or heard any mention of George W. Bush. And you sure as hell never saw any more of Mitt Romney's tax returns, did you, at the Republican convention? I'm very, very proud of our convention. All of the threads, all of the narrative there was right and proper and becoming of our country and what we hope for in our country. You know, Don Van Rysek sang the Star-Spangled Banner. We consider that not only our national anthem, but at home in Baltimore, we consider that a Baltimore song as well. We are the original land of the free and the home of the brave. And in 2014, we will celebrate the 200th anniversary of that date in time this month, when the people of Baltimore had to face down British bombardment and invasion to save our country. We came together as one. The British Army had just burned Washington to the ground, and the British general said that he was going to march on Baltimore. He was going to dine there, because even then we had great restaurants in Baltimore. And then he was going to burn Baltimore to the ground. But the people of Baltimore had something else in mind. We came together. We came together as one. 50% of us in the defense of Baltimore were immigrants who had not even been born in this country. 1 out of 5 of us were African American people in a still as yet very imperfect country. And yet we came together. Of the many true stories from that gallant defense, this one is one of my favorites. That giant Star-Spangled Banner that the commanders of the defense had stitched together in anticipation of that shock and awe coming down upon us were sewn together by Mary Pinkersgill and her daughters, a woman-owned business in the city of Baltimore. But one of the people that sewed that together, in addition to her daughters, was a 13-year-old indentured African-American servant girl named Grace Wisher. So see that. Hands of freedoms, hand of bondage, black and white hands sewing together your Star-Spangled Banner. And I submit to you that the common thread that held us together then is the common thread that holds us together now. In Maryland and here in Iowa, from Council Bluffs to Keokuk, and it is the thread of human dignity, the dignity of work. It is the dignity of work. It is the dignity of home. It is the dignity of neighbors, helping neighbors. It is the dignity of every child's home, and it is the dignity of every individual. You see, you understand and we understand that progress is a choice. Job creation is a choice. Whether we move forward or whether we move back, that too is a choice, and that is what this election is all about. You know, when I served as mayor, I learned pretty quickly, Tom, that there was no Democratic or Republican way to pick up the trash or to improve public safety or to fill the potholes. We didn't have the luxury of ideology as mayor. No mayor does. You bring people together to do the things that work in order to make progress. And all across our country, that's what Democratic governors are doing. Working with our president, not against our president, balancing budgets, protecting priority, doing the tough things now that move us forward as a people, no matter how difficult those decisions are. And that's exactly what our president, Barack Obama, has been doing for us. Don't you agree? To move America forward and not back. That's what this great work is all about. And I'd like you to join me in this little sing-along, will you? For those of you that are Catholics and accustomed to not singing along with others, I'd like you to suspend disbelief, kick the person next to you, and sing it with me. By driving home foreclosures, Tom, down to the lowest levels our country has seen in 5 long years, President Obama is moving America forward, not back. By driving unemployment down to the lowest levels we've seen in 3 hard years, President Obama is moving America forward, not back. With more jobs created last year in our private sector than in all 8 years of the presidency of George W. Bush, President Obama is moving America forward, not back. With 30 months in a row of positive private sector job growth, President Obama is moving America forward, not back. Yes, facts are facts, and sometimes they are hopeful things. It is true that no president since Franklin Delano Roosevelt inherited deeper problems, deeper job losses from his predecessor than President Obama inherited from his. But in the words of the indomitable Joe Biden, because of Barack Obama's leadership, job creation is up, unemployment is down, GM is alive and hiring, and Osama bin Laden is not. Now, despite all of that, you've seen what our Republican friends do. You know, when they're in office, they manage to mess things up real quick. And then they stand back and say, why aren't you cleaning up our mess quickly enough? You know? Why aren't you making it happen quickly enough? And then, now Romney and Ryan say, despite the progress we've made, and every single step has been hard fought and hard won, despite the fact that they've tried to block us every step of the way in order to try to slow the economy and pin the tail on the president, despite the fact that they've never joined with us in doing this tough work to bring America forward, they now say they want to take America back. I don't want to go back, do you? When they say that, we should ask, take us back to what? Take us back to the days of the Bush job losses? Take us back to the days of record skyrocketing home foreclosures? Take us back to deficits and desert wars without end? No, thank you. I don't want to go back. Nostalgia's not what it used to be. But let's be honest, folks. I mean, their sort of Tea Parties has a lot more in common with, say, Alice in Wonderland than it does with Sam Adams. They are much more Mad Hatter than they are James Madison. And that's why this election is so important. You've seen the down payment of what some of the newly elected Republican governors do, Senator Harkin. They run on a phony promise of restoring our country's economy, and then when they get in, they govern by rolling back individual freedoms, rolling back women's rights, rolling back workers' rights, rolling back voters' rights. You've seen it in Florida. You've seen it in Virginia. You've seen them try in Iowa. You've seen it in Ohio. The difference between our parties has never been so clear. We are the party that grows our economy. They are the party that wrecked our economy. We are the party that harnesses innovation to create American jobs. They are the party that outsources American jobs. We are the party, Tom Vilsack, that stands up for the family farm. They would have America sell the farm. We are the party of Social Security. We are the party of Medicare. They are the party of talk to the hand because I don't care. What sort of country do we want for our kids? What good for our country is there in allowing them to sell America short so they can make a quick buck? What sort of profit in us for us as a people to allow them to bring death to our hometowns for the sake of their passing greed? Instead of saving the American auto industry, like President Obama, Mitt Romney said we should have, quote, let Detroit go bankrupt. Instead of working with us to create a race to the top, improving education, improving public safety, Mitt Romney actually says we need less firefighters, less teachers, less police. Instead of protecting seniors, Romney and Ryan would turn Medicare into a voucher program. Why? To preserve it? No. So they can ladle on even bigger tax cuts for their billionaire buddies. These are not the choices that move America forward. Instead of investing in America, they ship our jobs to China. Swiss bank accounts never created American jobs. Swiss bank accounts never built a single American bridge. Swiss bank accounts never gave our children a college education. Swiss bank accounts never rebuilt the levees to protect our neighbors in New Orleans. Well, Governor Romney, the hardworking people of Iowa have a message for you. Just because you bank against the United States of America doesn't mean the rest of us are ready to sell her out, does it? So we will try it out with you. You who would turn our government into a tool of the 1%, by the 1%, and for the 1%. You who would mortgage our children's future for the white wine and brie of your current comfort. You who would pour out our country's promise for the pleasure of the country club. You who would believe that the force of foreclosure is greater than the power of opportunity and a people's desire to create a better future for their children. We, in 51 days, will try it out with you. For we are Americans, and we know we must act like Americans. My parents, Tom and Barbara O'Malley, were part of that great generation, like so many of you and so many of your parents who won the Second World War. You know, my mom at the age of 17 got a pilot's license so that she could fly in the Civil Air Patrol for Indiana. She protected the Indiana coastline from U-boat incursions. And my dad, Tom, actually flew 33 missions over Japan in a B-24 Liberator. He was from a humble neighborhood in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and he went to college only because of the GI Bill. Among the important lessons our parents taught the six of us, we were a small Irish Catholic family. Among the most important lessons they taught us were these three: to love God, to love your family, and to love your country. Their own grandparents, mostly Irish and German people, were immigrant people. And their first language was not English, but the hopes and the dreams they had for their children and grandchildren, they were purely American. You see, there is a powerful truth, isn't there, at the heart of our American dream. the stronger we make our country, the more she gives back to us. The more she gives back to our children and to our grandchildren. Our parents and grandparents understood this truth deeply. They did not treat America like some old car, some rusted old thing to be run into the ground and traded in. No, far, far from it. They believed, as we do, that a better tomorrow requires work today, and that in order to create jobs, a modern economy requires modern investments, educating, innovating, rebuilding. Yes, we live in changing times. The question is, what type of change will it be? As we search for the good intentions of our neighbors, especially those that may disagree with us currently about the choices necessary for a better America, as we search for common ground and a better way forward, we need to ask one another, including those who currently lead the Republican Party. Without any anger, meanness, or fear, we need to ask them, how much less do you really think would be good for our country? How much less education do you think would be good for our children? How much less public safety would be good for our towns and cities? How many fewer college degrees would be good for our nation? How many family farms can we no longer afford to save? How many hungry American children can we as a people no longer afford to feed? For those of you who are parents, I'd like you to think of those moments in your life when perhaps for the first time you brought your son or daughter to work with you. Perhaps the first time they climbed into the cab of your tractor or your truck. That first day of school, that day of graduation. What hope did you feel in your heart for them and for the country that you had the power to give them? Close your eyes. Imagine for a moment the faces of your own parents, your great-grandparents. They did not come across an ocean, settle a continent, do hard, backbreaking, oftentimes life-threatening work to give their children and grandchildren a country of less. Far from it. They wanted for their families not less, but more. More opportunity, and so do we. The opportunity to work, the opportunity to own a home, the opportunity that grows when each of us can succeed and make it in America. The United States of America is the greatest job-generating, opportunity-expanding country ever created by a free people in the history of civilization, and she still is. So let us not be the first generation of Americans to give our children a country of less. Let us return to the urgent work of creating more jobs, more security, more opportunity, and a better future for our children. And let us together, Iowa, move forward and not back by re-electing Barack Obama, President of the United States. Thanks very much.
Like a fool, I went and stayed too long.